Alright, so we are zipping around the planet right now. There we go. Close the alarm, please. Alright. So we should now be able to get another magnetometer scan. There we go. Let's transmit that. Let's get a temperature scan. Let's keep that. A solar particle analysis. Let's keep the data. A mystery goo observation, no more samples. And a material study. Keep the data. Alright. So now to do the other thing we came here to do with our contracts. So, let's go to Manure Planner. We can scoot that somewhere where it's less in the way. Get that completely out of the way. Drop that right over to here. We can get... where did the display go? I don't know. Alright, and that was things finishing recording. So let's change our Apple apps to be 527.153. 527.153. At the next Apple apps. There we go. Change Apple apps to 527.153. At the next Perry apps. And then we can do, after that, change the Perry apps to the mission required Perry apps at 193.289. 193.289, right? Okay. Oops. And then let's get you out of the way. An inclination of 180 degrees? Oh, you're an ass. Okay. All right, let's get rid of all these nodes. All right, so let's do this step by step. The first thing we want to do is we want to change our Apple apps to, we want to change our inclination to 180 degrees. Okay. Create the node. Ugh, that's a lot of delta V. That is a lot of delta V. So let's see what happens if we that's 1063 versus 683. Okay. Oh, because it's happening further out, which means we have a higher whatever. Okay, so let's say that that's good there. Alright, so let's do that. Let's execute that node. You guys can see I ended up jettisoning that bigger stage because it just wasn't going to work. This unfortunately means that I'm probably going to have to transmit a fair amount of the science I have because I don't know if this probe will have enough delta V to get home. Yeah, that would be an issue. Let's kill that. Set it to that. Thank you. Alright, so we're only going to need 637.9 delta V to do this. That is not terrible. It's not awesome, but it ain't terrible. So we're going to drop down there. That's a little over a quarter of my remaining delta V, which is okay by me. Because basically what we're doing now is we're canceling our orbital velocity and we're going the other way now. So you can see this is almost like what a landing burn looks like. See that? How we're just looping it over? Okay. So now then we want our apoapse. Alright, that's close a little bit enough. So then we want our apoapse to be 527.153. Okay, and we want to do that at our periapse. Execute the next node, computer. And you notice this thing's a fair bit more sprightly now with without that booster stage, that transfer stage, which was mostly empty, by the way, when we mostly full when we dumped it off. That was unfortunately just a matter of it was still attached to us, it followed us, and we don't have enough torque on this little pod to actually do anything with that thing attached. So the next model is going to have a fair bit more torque to it. Now, I'm still hoping that because this is a relatively equatorial orbit, that we'll still be able to... There we go. And now we need to change our periapse to 193,289. That's a tiny amount of delta V. Now the next thing we need to do... Oh, achieve orbit bound the 1. Awesome. Is the argument of periapse. I have no concept what that means. But I have a feeling, looking at this map, that I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, I have no conception what the argument of periapse is. See, I have no idea what the argument of the periapse is. See, I could change the ascending node longitude. I can change my semi-major axis. Alright, well, let's look at this, right? I have no idea how to control that. Let's try it like this. Hold on. Add maneuver. All right, let's try that. All right, let me screw around with this and I'll see what I can do. Be right back, guys. All right, guys, we are presently attempting to get this to work. So, this was a bit of monkeying manually, and now I'm letting MechJeb do the actual execution of this. And I haven't actually burned through that much Delta V, and I think I'll have enough to get us actually home. I think. There's kind of a big I think in this, because I don't actually know the Delta V numbers off the top of my head. I just know what they should roughly be. And for some reason, I keep getting kicked off heading whenever I do a burn. I think it's that solar collector, or the fact that I may have my magnetometer open, actually. Yeah, it's the magnetometer. Okay. Is that close enough for you, computer? %3 deviation. If I end up fiddling with 1 meter per second burns for the rest of this mission, I will be not thrilled. Though, this is turning into a fairly long duration mission for us. That's fairly true. Yeah, no more samples. That's fine. We'll launch a copy of this thing into orbit, and chuck it into that, get into that polar orbit. This thing has plenty of enough Delta V to do this sort of tomfoolery. This does mean that I need to look up what the argument of a periapsis is. What does it mean by neutralized controls, anyways? Like, not be thrusting anywhere? Okay, so now... we're looking at over here for the difference in our orbits. We need a 4-kilometer shift. That's not even worth dealing with. Alright, I'm pretty certain I am within... we're less than 1 degree off of each other. Right? So, in theory, this orbit's almost perfect. I have no control. My controls are neutralized, quote unquote. I don't understand what this means. Okay. My controls are neutralized. What does it mean, neutralize controls for 10 seconds? What does that even mean? Alright, well, while we're figuring that out, let's just go back to the Space Center. So, in the next mission, let's see what we unlocked there. How much science did we receive? I'll bring that thing back off camera because you guys, we have 147. You guys don't even need to see that thing on its return course. Actually, you know what? I'll do it in a bit. Let me just figure out what they mean by neutralize controls. So I could do this. I could do fuel systems for 190. Or I could get a little bit more and get the heavier rocketry, which would be the mainsail, the Maverick 5, Vesta VR9D, specialized control, which is RCS, and the 3-man pod, which I'm kind of... that would be cool to have. We could get advanced exploration, which is orbital telescopes, more science, advanced landing, which gets us the Alcor pod, which is pretty darn cool, and the bigger landing legs. I like that idea. Or supersonic flight, where we start getting into B9 stuff, which would be also pretty darn cool. And the ejection module. That would be good. Or precision engineering, which is more science, actually. And procedural fairies upgrades. Some smaller engines for probes, by the looks of it. Yeah. Alright, well, let me figure out what we're going to do next, and I will bring you guys back in once we have recovered our spacecraft. You know what? I'm just going to go for fuel systems, because we want the fuel ducts. That's pretty much it. We want the fuel ducts, and the carbonite stuff's pretty cool, so we'll research that, which gives us a fair bit more science. Also opens up specialized construction, which are some of the adapters. Shielded docking, multispectral imaging platform. Interesting. Okay. So we have a bunch more science to send up there. Alright. Ooh, and container bays. And a whole bunch of other stuff too. Jeez. Ah, and this is more... okay, this is more mobile modular colonization stuff. That's pretty cool. Okay, input ore, output. Okay, we can get ore, substrate, minerals, or water. Nice. Okay. So let me do some more exploration. Ooh, high altitude flight. That's cool. Okay. So I'll be back in a little bit, guys. Alright, guys, I just set up our return orbit, and it should be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to come around, and we're going to burn. And what we're doing is we're burning prograde to our orbit, but retrograde to the moon's orbit around Kerbal. See, moon goes this way, we burn this way. The reason we're doing that is that we're accelerating in relative to the moon, but we're decelerating relative to Kerbal, so we'll fall back into the Kerbal. This is pretty much exactly what we did in order to set up our orbit in the very first place. To set up our transfer to the moon on that free return trajectory. Before I realized that I actually needed to, fly by the moon. Or enter orbit around the moon and not just do a flyby. Though, with all the success I've been having with those missions, I probably should have just done the flyby. Oh gosh, what are you doing? This thing has some balance issues to it, doesn't it? Alright, let's get those collectors. We should get those collectors pulled the hell back in, shouldn't we? Alright, that's fine. Yeah, get those back in, will ya? Alright, so it looks like 35 clicks. Alright, that's not too shabby. That is not too shabby at all. So, let's make sure that's pulled back in. Everything's secure. Let's toggle the doors. Let's toggle the doors. Those things are closed. That thing is closed. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to start to time warp now. I want to go to the map mode, please. Map mode. There we go. Like, I'd like to go out to the map now. Please, computer? I'd really like to. Alright, so now we're on our orbit back to Kerbal. We at some point need to rescue that Maltbury Kerman character. Probably would be a good idea. thought I already rescued him. I don't have it up. My contracts are being wibbly again. That is fine. All right. So I believe we are now actually entering Kerbal atmosphere. Unfortunately, we're doing so at night. Yes, okay, so I do have SAS control. And we're going to hit the atmosphere kind of rear end first. Kind of. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not touching the controls at all. This is atmospheric effects hitting me. And hopefully we don't become forward stable, because that would be a challenge. Nope, we're going to be engine stable. Okay, that's good. Let's check vessel viewer. Center of mass is that, I think. So that's pretty well and truly far back. Here we go. We are in the atmosphere. I don't know why we're still playing that game. But we're just going to toast off most of our fuel. Activate our chutes. And if you notice, we're actually clipping through the atmosphere. We're not slapping down into it. But we are nicely, definitely going to be a capture. Okay. Definitely going to be a nice, easy capture. And our G rating isn't actually that high, which is a nice thing. We're rotating a little bit, and this is also the point I'm really glad we don't have deadly reentry on this thing. And we're building back up our electric charge now. And if I was feeling really brave, I'd start trying to use this thing as a flying wing. But I don't think we'll do that. Now, if you notice, we are spending... Ooh, wait. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? I'm full up on my controls here. Yes! See that? See that? Our shape right now is acting like a wing. We are actually gliding through the atmosphere and actually gaining altitude and losing speed. As a matter of fact, we just skipped. Which is actually good for us, because we're skipping at a low enough altitude that we shouldn't run into trouble. Okay, now see, we just got hit again by the atmosphere. To a degree. And I'm having some difficulty controlling it. But in theory, we can actually bring ourselves down to a fairly decent arrival speed just by kind of skipping our way along here. Yes. Thank you. Contract complete. Yes, I finally got that, by the way. Pain in the rear end. I will not be taking very more satellite placement contracts in the future. Now, when we hit again, I'm hoping that we'll start to aero brake. So what's happening is that this aircraft, this design, is basically starting to act like a lifting body. A lifting body means that, you know, it's the body itself, the hull, is causing it to gain lift. Now, that's actually fairly common. The space shuttle is that design. The thing with aircraft and anything in general is that you will get lift as long... Anything can get lift, all right? If it's traveling fast enough, anything can technically fly. Let's take a look at our surface info. Okay, so our vertical speed is now increasing. Okay. Oh, and there it goes again. Now it's dropping back down, see? Now the question is how many times we have to do this until we actually re-enter properly. And our chute's just deployed, which makes this entire discussion something of a moot point. You can also turn off SAS and just let it glide in on its own. And let's actually give it some physical time acceleration. We have safe shoot. Ooh. What's that? Temperature scan. Over Kerbin's deserts. Not too shabby. There we go. Now that was actually a pretty decent re-entry path. We probably would have burned up in the beginning, actually. Because this thing has no heat shields, we probably would have just toasted as soon as we came in.